Without a doubt, Joe is the greatest hero of pro-life activism in America, and he's the reason I'm here. And he has just done it all. His great book, Closed, 99 Ways to Stop Abortion, everybody should get that, because just about every one of those ways is just as relevant today. His soon-to-be published book, Joe, what's the name of it?
Racketeer for Life.
Racketeer for Life. Please welcome the Racketeer for Life, Joe Schiedler.
Jack even worked for me for a while, and he was great, but he upset one of my secretaries. I don't know why, but she came to me and she said, "It's Jack or me." This was the days before computers, and she was my computer. She knew every address, every person. I was a terrible one. So I called Jack then and I said, "Jack, I just feel rotten about this. But, you know, it's either you or Barbara." So Jack very humbly resigned and came back here, and it's God's grace that he did. That's what he's done. You guys are here. He would have been in Chicago just raising money. The pro-life action league, he hadn't raised that much anyway until he left. Then the money started coming in. Stuff he had already settled. And we were, I thought, gee, why did I get rid of that guy? And then poor Barbara had a heart attack and died just shortly after that. So it was one of those things where Jack was supposed to be here. And we loved him. We still do. And Jack and I have worked together. And as you say, we've done some weird things together, which will be in my book, Racketeer for Life. Jack's all through it. But today, what I want to talk about is a very simple thing that I think we all have to do. And we've done it. And you've each got a story. And this is very interesting because years ago when Father Paul Marx came to Chicago and had this banquet, after the banquet, only 6 of us stayed to talk to him. And he'd given a fantastic talk all about fetal development and the abortion methods, and he was a wondrous speaker, a Benedictine monk from St. John's Abbey up in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And he would go to the abortion meetings. He went as Dr. Marx to the Planned Parenthood planning sessions. And so he had a tremendous background. And so when Paul Marx had given this talk and only 6 of us stayed, one of the girls said, "Why us? Why are we staying to find out more?" And he said, "Because you are called." Now that really struck me. You're called. Why are you called? You are called. You'd be doing something else now if God didn't want you doing this. It's the way he works. So you have to think back somewhere in your past that you were prepared for this call. And what I did, when I heard that from Father Marx, I started thinking, what was there in my past that makes me want to protect the unborn? And here's what I came up with. When I was just a little kid, I mean just like, really young, there was a very important story that burst out into the papers. Charles Lindbergh had flown the Atlantic alone to Paris. He came back, ticker tape parades, the whole thing. Charles Lindbergh, he married a beautiful young poetess, and they had a baby. That was the baby everybody adopted. His name was Charlie Lindbergh Jr. Little blonde, beautiful baby. And what happened? He was kidnapped. He was kidnapped, and people started demanding money, big money, to return this baby. Well, this was the headline when I was just a little kid. Like, let's see, it was having been 31, I was 4 years old. I had a little sister, Ellie, and shortly after that, a little brother. And I was terrified that they'd be kidnapped. I didn't know they only kidnapped rich kids. Charlie Lindbergh didn't say he was rich. He was just a cute little blonde baby. But I became protective of Ellie and Bobby. And after that, the movies, you know, cashed in right away. Every other movie was about a kidnapping. And my dad owned the movie theaters. So I'm going to all these movies about kidnapping. I'm reading about kidnapping. The trial, they found out the kidnappers, and they found the baby. And the baby had died the night of the kidnapping, had probably fallen when they were taking the baby down the ladder because the ladder broke, and they found the baby buried on the Lindbergh property in New Jersey. And they identified the baby because it was decomposed by this time, but by a mustard plaster and the little pajamas he was wearing. So anyway, that may be the reason that I am so protective of children. If I hear that there's an airplane crash or any kind of a sinking of a ship or anything, I immediately want to find out whether there are any children aboard. I remember some years ago they were evacuating the Korean towns, and there were children, just children on this one plane had crashed, and a whole lot of babies died. And I went into grief. There's something about the innocent, helpless children. Now you think back in your life and you'll find something like that. Some reason you were called. Some propensity that you have toward protecting the helpless, the innocent, the unborn. Who's more helpless? Who's more innocent? The unborn. And we kill them at the rate of 1.5 million or 1.3 million every year. We've killed almost 60 million of our posterity. And now we're seeing, through the media, through the secular media, this whole thing with Planned Parenthood using their body parts, so there's no way for anybody to deny that these are living human beings, perfect in every way, and abused to the point of death. That's what we do in our country. And that's why I think it was so good for Jack to come up with this sign, this is what Planned Parenthood does. Because they are getting a great big black eye. And I was sitting next to a young woman the other day, knows Dave, the guy that's that's done all this filming and all of these interviews, and there is so much to come. He has been working 3 years putting this together. He's a young fellow. Dave, what's his last name? Delavan? They pronounce it different ways, but but he is he's able to take it, but he's going to be under a lot of pressure and investigation, and you know what side the government's on. So yes, we have to pray for him, but he's done a marvelous job. But it's part of the whole fabric. We've known this for years. We've had these price lists of a company in Illinois that was selling babies, one in Indiana, the parts, the liver, the heart, the calvaria, the head, so on. Price lists have been out. Father Marks had a price list years ago. It's business. Abortion is business for them. That's why it's so, they don't use any logic when you're standing on the street and somebody says, how many have you adopted? I always say 5. And that shuts them up. I adopted my daughter's 5 kids. I wrote her. I said, I'm adopting your 5 kids, so when they say, how many have you adopted, I can say 5. So we just don't get visitation rights as much as very long we would. But they're crazy. The things they say, the things that they accuse you of, it's anger, it's bitterness, it's the kind of thing that we have to expect. It's mockery. Remember, Christ was mocked. It's hard to be mocked. You know, we're all a little proud, a little bit, and people will say the most awful things about you and how you look and everything. And, you know, you're an old man, what do you care about babies and all that sort of thing? I care a lot about them, more the older I get. So, when I have more grandchildren, you know, you become attached to these little things, these little children. So ask yourself, what was it that made you be a subject that God would call on to do this fantastic job, which the Holy Father, Pope John Paul II, said is the most important work on earth today. He said that to Father Paul Marks. This is the most important work today. Why? Because it's about life. That little tiny fertilized egg is more valuable than the universe. Now we've got things floating around out there. They just went past Pluto the other day, and we finally got to see what Pluto looked like when it was just a dot. I don't think they want to call it a planet. We have insight into the universe, the enormity, the magnificence, the quasars, the black holes, things you can talk about. Our mind can hardly conceive of the magnificence and beauty and immensity of creation. And yet this little newly formed human being is more valuable than all. That's the thinking. That's the truth. That's the truth, because that little tiny thing was made for this universe. The universe was made for this little baby. And so we see that. That doesn't startle us at all. And yet, to explain that to the man on the street is tough. So we have to go out, we have to show the pictures, we have to talk, we have to get in every opportunity we have to bring up this subject, to get into it. I sit on the plane, when I travel, and people say, I usually have the little feet on. I'm wearing a moccasins right now, because I want people to ask about what that is too. But the feet. Remember one time, a pilot was standing, greeting the people coming on the plane. And he saw the little feet. He said, "You're pro-life." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I am too, and I'm a minister. And I only fly on weekends so I can minister to the staff, the crew. When we land, we have a service." And he said, and one of my favorites, I'm going to miss him today, but whenever I miss him, I always tape the program, was D. James Kennedy from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You've heard the name. I think he's gone now, but I marched with him one time, got preached from his pulpit down in Fort Lauderdale. Anyway, Dr. D. James Kennedy, so I said, this will be interesting, because I said, I'm on his program this Sunday. So when his machine would go on and tape, it was me talking from his pulpit. It was just kind of a strange coincidence, but he said, "I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something for you." I said, "What's that?" He said, "You'll find out." We flew into Omaha, and all of a sudden, we're on the ground. We're coasting in. And everybody on the plane starts applauding. It's what they call a soft landing. You don't know you landed. Now that's unusual, because yesterday we had a crash landing. And they came into BWI, a boom, 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 boom. And that's what you usually have. It is very hard to do a soft landing. Any pilots in here? You have to have perfect conditions. I have 3 nephews, and one son, brother, not a nephew, a grandson, that are pilots. And they say it's tough. It's tough to do a soft landing with a big plane. Anyway, that was his gift, and he came out just smiling real big at the end of the flight and met me as I'm getting on. But I meet lots of people. I met hostesses who want to adopt, who are desperate to have a child. They see the little feet, and they'll get somebody to take their place, and they'll go sit by you and talk about, can you help them find a child for adoption? One time I was sitting there, and the woman next to me said, "What do you do?" I said, "I fight abortion," and she pushed the little button and got the flight attendant to come, and she said, "I want to move." And I don't want to sit by this man. And I said, "Why don't you stand?" There were no other seats on the plane. I said, "We can always stand." And but you go to plane. But anyway, she did find somebody to search with her. But it was that important to her that she not sit next to a pro-life person. And so sometimes I don't tell them till the end of the flight what I do for a living. But you are called. And this is very, very important. And we pray that more people like you are called across our country. This is important, what you do, what you did today, standing on the street with these pictures, but with the pictures of the babies, of born babies in the uterus, and aborted babies is extremely important because we are a visual people. They say a picture is worth, I keep hearing 1,000 words. The original Chinese is 10,000 words. And what it means is infinite. You could talk from here to the end of time and it wouldn't be worth the picture. Sometimes you do have to describe. I remember one time I was on Charlie, the morning show, Good Morning America. Can't remember the guy's name, real common name. Anyway, I flew out to New York to do Good Morning America and then fly back to Chicago. It was a live program. And I was halfway scared that being on live, the National Organization for Women, who was suing me, would gather outside the studio when I came out. So I told my driver to be in back, ready to go when the program was over. But anyway, when I got on the program, I had a picture of a hand. Just a beautiful little hand of a baby at 8 weeks. Tiny little hand. And I showed it to Charlie. And I said, can I show this picture? Just to give people an idea of what the baby looks like at 8 weeks. Just its hand. He said, you show that picture, we go to a commercial break. So I couldn't show the picture. I had it in my pocket. I was dying to bring it up. Hold it up there, I said, this is a baby at 8 weeks. And what I did when the program started, I said, Charlie introduced me, and I said, you know, I have a picture in my pocket. It's the picture of a hand. A beautiful little 5-finger hand, 4 fingers, 1 thumb. And Charlie won't let me show it. I had described it so well, actually, it was almost as good as showing it. Charlie was furious. He couldn't go to a commercial because I hadn't shown the picture. So you can, in not 10,000 words, but you can describe pretty well. Sometimes you have to. But I used to, whenever I was asked to come to a high school or college, whatever, and do a presentation, I would always take the Wilkie pictures, the Wilkie slides. That's how we all got started. And people would say, Mr. Schiedler, could you skip the slides? I said, yeah, I can skip the whole talk. If I don't come with the slides don't come with me, no talk. And usually they would allow it. Once in a while they'd say, well, hate to do it, we're going to cancel the talk. Then I'd have to give in because I didn't want to miss the opportunity. Because you want to take every chance you get to not be burdensome, but you just mention it. People ask what you do, tell them you're a pro-lifer. Don't be afraid of it. Don't hide it. Jack, wears this shirt all the time, all over the place, everywhere you go. And when he walked into the Dubliner the other day, these girls are attracted by the shirt. I chickened out and went back to my shirt and tie. But I may leave my shirt on the seat next to me. I'm going to go back, we'll see. But anyway, ask yourself why you're called. Stay with it. I know too many people that get in the movement and they say, I'll spend a year. I'll just do a year. And then I'll go back to whatever else I'm doing. Even if you go back to something else, and we do have to make a living and all that, stay with the pro-life movement. Stay in touch. Keep watching it grow and helping it to grow. I don't know why we don't have more groups like this. We just had our Face the Truth tour in Chicago. We had good turnouts, lots of them. But we can't seem to get them started. We did in Pittsburgh, Jack started here. There was one in Arizona that's going good. But they're tough. You have to do a lot of planning, a lot of scheduling, a lot of financially putting your pictures together, buying the shirts, getting them in at the sauna. There's a lot to it. But it has to grow. So spread the word wherever you can. Jack's newsletter is one of the best. I think it's the best. The Spread the Life is just fantastic. And we put out a little newsletter. We do, everybody's on the websites now. There's a lot being done. And of all the issues today that are going on, the gay rights and so on, this is a one that's winning. We are winning. Abortions are down 12% from last year, 12%. Abortion clinics, there used to be over 2,000, we're down to 600. The number of abortions, the women, the attitude, the American people when they take the polls, we're winning the hearts and souls of the people. You notice it out on the streets. It's not as bad as it used to be. It's still bad, but it's not as bad as it used to be. We had some maniacs that threw paint at it, so, but most of our response was positive, or at least kind of not hateful. And I noticed that today here in Hagerstown. Don't get me wrong, I don't say that I still a lot of people that hate what we do, but we're winning. And even the media is having to admit it. They take our stories. And one nice little story, where I head back to Chicago, was standing on the street holding the picture of an aborted baby, and the guy comes by and he says, "Joe Schiedler." He's a reporter, a writer from Chicago sometime. I may mention this some of the last night, but anyway, his wife's with him. His wife is a militant pro-abortionist. He is too. He's pro-abortion, gay rights, the whole thing. But he wanted to shake my hand and congratulate me for staying with it. And then he took his wife to work and he came back and did a story, did an interview for the next day's paper. Not only did he do the interview with me, but he took some of the heart out of the literature that we were handing out and told what abortion does to women. The effect, the psychological effect an abortion can have on women. He did not have to do that. It was word for word from our flyer, which they usually toss away. Something touched him that he had to report what abortion does to women, even though he's pro-abortion. So strange things are happening, much stranger things than that. But I was just going to say, Jack suggested, I asked some people, what got you into this? We haven't got time for that right now, I'm going to go to plane. But ask yourself, why me? And then thank God, it is me. God bless you. Amen.